Zipper rolls out to the right, pitches off to Taylor, and Taylor's to the 20, down to the 15, down to the 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Touchdown, Billy Taylor! Touchdown, Billy Taylor! Billy Taylor scored a touchdown from 21 yards out. The crowd goes berserk. It was November 22nd, 1969. That they came to Barry, Michigan, all dressed in maize and blue. The words were said, the prayers were read, and everybody cried. But when they closed the coffin, there was someone else inside. Oh, they came to Barry, Michigan, but Michigan wasn't dead. And when the game was over, it was someone else instead. 11 Michigan Wolverines put on the gloves of gray, and as the organ played the victors, they laid Woody Hayes away. Under center is Wangler at the 45. He goes back. He's looking for a receiver. He throws downfield to Carter. Who's got it better than us? Nobody!
Welcome to the Michigan Man Podcast on Wolverine Sports Radio, a member of the V Sporto Network, and in partnership with SB Nation's Maize and Brew, for Wolverine fans from coast to coast. Go Blue, and welcome to our Hawaii Visitors edition of the show. I'm your host, Mike Fitzpatrick. This Saturday, Hawaii makes the 8,000-mile trip from Honolulu to Willow Run. They head into this week's action 0-2 after being thumped in Week 1 by Vandy, and then this past Saturday by Western Kentucky. Bringing us the Hawaii perspective will be Rainbow Warrior radio play-by-play voice John Veneri. Before John joins us, let's take a look at a few news and notes. At his presser Monday, Jim said the team had 3 goals on Saturday: win, get better, and stay healthy. All 3 were accomplished for the most part. Tackle Carson Barnhart sprained an ankle and will probably miss this week's game. All in all, things went about as well as you could hope for in the opener against Colorado State. We'll have more of a Michigan perspective of things on Thursday's Michigan Game Day show, when our guest will be the angel of the big house, beat writer Angelique Shengelis from the Detroit News. This week we get ready for that visit from Hawaii. By now you know they were absolutely pummeled in their first 2 games, both at home. It was an off-season of turmoil for the program, a coaching change, numerous players leaving the program, and the morale was very low. Enter a favorite son as the new head coach. Tommy Chang is one of the all-time great quarterbacks in Hawaii history. He has to rebuild a program that he dearly loves. It's going to take time, a fact that was on display during those first 2 games against Vanderbilt and Western Kentucky. My guest today says he hopes Coach Chang gets the time he needs to rebuild the program. But fans are already antsy after what they've seen in those first 2 games, and now they make that trip to Ann Arbor to face what they know is a very good Michigan team. Joining us next is the new radio play-by-play voice of Hawaii football, John Veneri. So stay with us. Here with us on our visitors segment this week as we get ready for the big Hawaii game Saturday night in Ann Arbor is the radio play-by-play voice of Hawaii football, John Veneri. John, it's great to have you with us.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it, and we're looking forward to traveling over there, although I know a lot of our fans are probably a little weary.
I'm sure it's going to be a long trip. I always wonder about that. I mean, they're athletes, they're in peak shape, they're ready to roll. But you fly over, get acclimated, and then you play a night game. I mean, that's like double tough for Hawaii football, isn't it?
Yeah, it's though the time difference will have Hawaii playing. If they stick to the time, they'd be playing more like an early afternoon game. In all honesty, they're going to fly over on Wednesday and be there for a couple of days prior to game time. Probably get a lot of rest on game day. And then have to fly right back out after the game. But The last time Hawaii was there, it was an afternoon game, and I'm sure with all the heat that's going on in the mainland, Hawaii's not used to that. They play a night game here in Hawaii, and on occasion it's at the very most in the high 70s. So any bit of heat, if you can cancel out some of the heat with playing a night game, I'm sure they don't mind.
Well, has school started yet?
School has started for them, yes. So they are in school, and the student athletes practice real early in the morning and then get to classes and then come back and get to the weight room and watch some film. So that they're in full swing. Let me clarify. We fly out of Hawaii on Wednesday, but we don't get to Michigan until Thursday early morning. I believe it's like 6 a.m. So that time difference is really going to hit them when we get in. And so, but they are going to be on a charter flight. They're not flying commercial, so they'll take them straight to Ann Arbor. So the charter flight will take them right out after the Michigan game and bring everybody home at about, I want to say it's between 5 and 6 a.m. on Sunday morning.
Oh my gosh. And I hadn't checked the schedule, but do they have a bye next week?
They do not. Hawaii will host Duquesne at home for homecoming.
Well, this will certainly test the training staff. I mean, that's a lot to overcome, flying from Hawaii to Michigan and then back, and you play Duquesne next Saturday. But
here's the thing about it. Hawaii has typically asked big-time opponents to come all the way to Hawaii in years past. So for a lot of guys, despite them being 0-2 and having a bunch of lopsided losses so far this season, for some of them, flying to a place like the Big House, such a historic venue, these guys, it'll be once in a lifetime for them. Like many guys from Western Kentucky or Vanderbilt coming to Hawaii for the very first time in their life and seeing certain things like Pearl Harbor and the Arizona Memorial.
Yeah.
This is an opportunity for some of these football players that only know about it on television. And the Big House is a historic venue, so a lot of these guys they'll be in awe of their visit.
Well, what about the fan base? I don't know how many tickets the Michigan Athletic Department gave Hawaii, but is there a sizable amount of folks coming over?
I would imagine it's probably mostly family of the players, fans. It's been rough. The first two games kind of took its toll on Hawaii here at home, and flying all the way to Michigan, although there are the diehard Rainbow Warrior fans that will travel. There's a good handful of them that travel to every game. So there'll be some green in the stands, that's for sure.
Our Michigan fans always look forward when we do these shows, interviewing the play-by-play guys for our opposition for the week, and learn from your perspective or from the visiting team's perspective, things we probably don't get in the local media here. But it's your first year in the booth as the play-by-play guy for Hawaii, but you've been a part of the Hawaii radio team. I think it's been the last 26 years. And
it has, yeah.
You played for Hawaii too, so how does it feel calling the action this year, even though you're just moving over sort of a seat from color commentary to play-by-play?
Well, I've been in and around the program for the last 32 years as a player and a broadcaster. I started off as the sideline guy, then I got to move up into the booth, and for the last 13 years I've been doing color, which really is a position that for a football player or former football player can do in his sleep. But I've been around it enough to know how I would like to do the game. One of the most difficult things for me is transitioning into a part-time speaking role into a full-time speaking role, so to speak, where you're calling all the action. And then the difference between television and radio is so great too. So you're having to describe everything you see to our listeners. And so that has been my biggest challenge. And then there's always someone who wants something a little more of, down and distance place of the ball. So while I've always said that I'm going to continue to learn, and as a player, you want to get better every day, I'm going to continue to do that as a broadcaster. I'm not going to be Al Michaels on day one or day two, maybe not even a year one or year two. I'm hoping to just continue to progress, listen to the criticism, take in the things that people want to hear, and try to implement that into the broadcast. I'm hoping that for some, they're already enjoying it, but I'm promising that it'll only get better.
Well, one of the really cool things I wanted Michigan fans to know is that your brother Mark is in the booth with you as the color guy. That's pretty unique in this business, but it's got to be great having your brother sitting right there next to you in the booth.
Well, as unique as a football player or former football player that did color jumping into the play-by-play seat is my brother Mark has been around. We have a 12-year age gap.
Mm-hmm.
He's 12 years the younger, and He is a football player himself. He played Division I baseball, and he's got young sons. He coaches football, and he has been our sideline guy for the last 9 years. So it was a great progression. And in all honesty, he could very easily be the guy that's doing play-by-play as well, as he has been on our station doing high school football as the play-by-play announcer for both CBS Sports and ESPN Honolulu. And he has done a fantastic job. He's become the voice of high school sports on the radio, and he does a fantastic job. So when this whole thing came about, I already knew that I was going to fall back on him. He has taught me a great deal, as I'm hoping that as you know his career had progressed, and he was always looking up to me, and now I'm falling back on him. It's a great partnership, and you know the Hawaii football team has this thing. It's the brotherhood. Which is basically the brotherhood in the pidgin English, but and so I think it's an amazing opportunity for the two of us, and we have enjoyed every second of it. Now it's just up to the football team to get some wins. It'll make it so much more enjoyable for us. But this particular trip will be our first to Michigan, and so this will be our first as a broadcast team. And it's been a long, long time since him and I have actually traveled together. I believe the last trip we went on together was to Disneyland when he was just a young kid. So this is going to be an amazing opportunity for both of us, and we're really looking forward to it. I've been to the Big House the last time Hawaii was there, and I was the color guy then, and so I'm really looking forward to bringing my brother there and him getting this opportunity, because it really is a once in a lifetime.
Yeah, it is, and I think it's really cool. It's up there with you and your brother in the booth. Well,
thank you. Yeah, we're having fun.
Well, and I hope you do. Let's talk about this team, John, and this year and this trip. A lot of changes to the program in the offseason. Michigan fans have read about it. They know there's a new head coach, Rainbow legend, Tommy Chang, and a lot of new players. It was a tumultuous offseason, to say the least, wasn't it?
It really was. You know, it started with some of Hawaii's key contributors on both offense and defense leaving the program, entering the transfer portal because of their feelings with the previous coaching staff, and it led them to want to leave. You lost your starting quarterback, you lost a bunch of receivers, you're losing one of the best in the conference at linebacker and at defensive end to big programs. You're losing a couple of receivers. One just caught a touchdown yesterday for Cincinnati. Another got a win for San Jose State. So it has been it's been a down situation for Hawaii. But then they get the coach, a storied program in St. Louis in high school, where a number of different quarterbacks have come out of, and just to name a couple, Marcus Mariota, Tua Tagovailoa. Timmy Chang was a record-setting quarterback in high school, and he was a record-setting quarterback at the University of Hawaii, setting all kinds of records for passing, yardage, touchdowns. You know, him coming back was not only a great opportunity for him, but Hawaii fans really, I mean, this is a Hawaii son coming back to coach his alma mater. And so you couldn't really ask for much more than that. Now his predicament is winning football games, because while the build-up to the start of the season was amazing, everybody was so excited about it. Losing to Vanderbilt 63-10 and then backing that up with a loss to Western Kentucky last night, 49-17. There's a lot of question marks, and there are some people that, as you know, football fans want wins. And if they're not getting it, doesn't matter if you have the Pope coaching your football team. If they want wins, they want wins, and it doesn't matter who's your head coach. So he's in a bit of a predicament. And now this team at 0-2 with really lopsided losses has to travel to a very tough place to play against a very good Michigan football team, and they know it. So fans are kind of at the edge right now, and a lot of them are unhappy with what they've seen, but are hoping for the best. They're just not expecting it to happen this week.
When you talk about pressure, your first job as a head coach brings with it a lot of pressure anyway, but you come back to your alma mater, that's even more pressure. So what do you expect from Coach Chang to bring to this Hawaii program in the way of philosophy and leadership in his first year?
Well, he's already brought back a culture to the program, even with the theme, the brotherhood. He's brought back a family type feeling for this entire program. He's welcomed back the alumni. he's done all the handshaking and the greetings with the business folks in town, and he's done that. I always said he won the off season. 53 new players. 18 of those were college transfers. Some of them returning home from other colleges across the country. And so I said he won the off season. It was putting it together with the right coaching staff. A lot of people were worried that maybe he would hire friends as his assistants. And while there are a couple of those guys that are friends, he didn't know a lot of those guys. He hired them on respect and what they could do and what he thought they could do for the program. And so, again, it goes back to, yes, he is a local boy. He's a Hawaii boy. He went away, learned from some coaches, and came back and is now getting an opportunity for the first time as a head coach in Hawaii. And I think because he was here and he's a local boy, I think the leash will be a little bit longer than it would be for, say, another coach from, say, the mainland. I think his leash will be a little bit longer. It's getting a little tighter, though, as I've mentioned, with the lopsided losses. And so he's going to have to figure it out. I believe he's got some of the right people around him to make the changes, the necessary changes. But Hawaii has to be a little bit patient with this, with this process. And I believe that they have in the past, and they'll have to do it again. I think there's so many people that are waiting for the wins. They want it to return to the years of 1992 when Hawaii beat Illinois in the Holiday Bowl, or the unbeaten season and then going to the Sugar Bowl to play Georgia in 2007. It's just not happening in Hawaii. Hawaii fans want wins.
Well, patience, I think, is the key word there, and Hawaii is off to its first 0-2 start since, I believe, the 2016 season. And we've mentioned Vandy was the opener. That was a blowout. And then this past Saturday, a tough loss to Western Kentucky. Both of those games at home, too, which make it hurt more. So that in itself is a rough start.
It really is. And, you always want to defend your home field. Going away and going on the road is it's a tough thing for Hawaii. It's not an easy task for Hawaii to have to travel all that way, but everybody travels to Hawaii. So yes, patience is the key. And I think eventually, once these guys start clicking, I think they'll get on the right track. Right now, though, once they get into conference, I believe that they'll maybe step back on track. But that's not going to be easy either, and that's not until the sixth game of the season, that is. So it's been a tough non-conference schedule, and it'll only get worse or harder. I shouldn't say worse, but it'll only get harder for them this week. And then they'll get the opportunity to come home. Hawaii is really, really only at home once in the entire month. I take that back, since yesterday this past Saturday was Western Kentucky, but they go on the road to Michigan, then they come back for Duquesne, then they go back on the road to New Mexico State, and then they start conference play on the road in October. So not many opportunities for fans to get excited about the program, and there aren't a lot of fans that are allowed to attend the games because of Hawaii's makeshift on-campus stadium right now. And so it's been tough. It has been tough.
Well, John, let's talk about this Hawaii offense that we're going to see in the Big House on Saturday, starting with that quarterback position. I know Joey Yellen got his first start on Saturday. He finished 4 for 11. He threw a pick. Then Braden Shager played the final 3 quarters. He finished, a nice 22 of 33, but he threw 4 picks. So your thoughts on those two guys?
It's been tough. I think Braden Shager's probably the guy that they'll go with this week. Joey Yellen had some trouble, and it's hard to say that they would go with Braden Shager. When you look at it, 4 interceptions. One of them was really bad. A couple of those were deflections. So while that is on him, it's also on the receiver. It's been tough at the quarterback position, and they're still trying to figure out who that guy is. Joey Yellen's a transfer from Pitt, and didn't get the start in the first game, but he got to start in the second game and just didn't produce. So while they said that the hook wasn't going to come as early as a lot of people were expecting, it did in fact come early, and they did put Braden Shager on in the second quarter to start the second quarter, and they really went with him until they got to short yardage situation, and then they brought in a third quarterback, Cameron Cooper, the transfer from Washington State, who in a lot of people's mind is the better runner of the three, and he did ended up taking him into the end zone on an option play. But it was just all downhill from there. And here's the thing. I don't care if you have Joe Montana back there. As many mistakes as this team has made in the course of the last couple of games, it's going to be hard to win. And everyone knows that if you lose the turnover battle, it's going to be tough to win. But when you lose it with 5 interceptions and a fumble in special teams, you're in trouble. You're just going to be in trouble. And so that's the problem. A couple of personal foul penalties. You had one player ejected for targeting. And so this team is deflated and in some areas depleted as well.
Well, I was watching the game this morning, and I thought Braden Shager looked pretty good. I mean, he made some mistakes and throws a nice ball. Looks like he good footwork. But after the game, I was watching his presser, and he injured his shoulder. So I don't know if you have any kind of a report on that, or is he, maybe a question mark?
No injury report yet. I know that they're evaluating players today, and then with the holiday tomorrow, it'll be more looking like Tuesday. Hawaii has not been forthcoming with who they'll be putting at the quarterback. That has been a game time announcement. Maybe not a decision, but definitely an announcement to the media. And so if I had to guess, I'm going to guess if he's okay to go and it isn't his throwing shoulder, that it would be Braden Shager. However, with the start of Joey Yellen, even though he didn't do as well, they have that opportunity. I just don't think either one of these guys is ready for what they're having to face this week. It's unfortunate, but there's been so many mistakes around the offense, whether it's a dropped pass or a wrong route or a rollout and an interception to a missed block and a sack. It's just been tough offensively for this football team to get anything kind of going and to fall, get clicking with its receivers. And all 11 hasn't done their job on every play. That's been the biggest problem.
Well, as far as that receiving core goes, I think looking at the stats and watching the game last night, they're led by Jonah Pinoki with 9 grabs. Jalen Walthall has 8. James Phillip with 10. Tell us about those guys, John, and any other receivers we might see in action this Saturday.
Well, they do go to a bunch of different receivers. A couple of those guys are dinged up, as you might imagine. You've got Jalen Walthall had a pretty big receiving game last night, although you can't really, with only 3 receptions, you can't really say that was an amazing game. Each one of these guys got some passes. Even coming out of the backfield, Dedrick Parson, their running back, was able to haul in 4 receptions for 27 yards. But nothing, I gotta say, nothing has been spectacular. It certainly wasn't what Hawaii fans were expecting. Part of that is just because this team is still learning. While there are some seniors on this team, game time experience has been the downfall. There's a lot of young guys, both in age and in game playing experience, and so that has been tough for this Hawaii football team. And then on defense, like I was mentioning earlier, you lose a lot of the key guys that were conference leaders last year to the transfer portal. And so there are a lot of guys that are trying to step up. And one of those leaders is Blessman Ta'ala, who in game 1 against Vanderbilt, they did a good job of keeping him away from the football. He didn't have a single tackle. And while we rarely called his name last night, he did enough to get some of his buddies in on the action. And so this is just a learning squad, a team that's learning and trying to get some experience as they go. It's just unfortunate that the experience that they need is in game time. And we all know how that goes. You just can't be making the mistakes that you do in practice during a game, and they are.
Last Saturday or yesterday, we saw in Michigan, a Colorado State team that runs a wide open passing offense. They like to throw about 60% of the time, Coach Norvell's air raid offense. What about this Hawaii offense? Is it a wide open spread that leans on the passing game, or does Coach Chang want to have a more balanced run-pass type of attack?
Well, I believe that Coach Chang has let Ian Shoemaker, the offensive coordinator, kind of take the reins, and it's his offense that he brought from Eastern Washington, and he's trying to do his best at running it with the guys that they got. They have a couple of really talented tight ends that aren't really used as a tight end, but they're not really used as a slot either in what would look like a run-and-shoot offense. This offense is considered to be an up-tempo offense, and Coach Shoemaker says his line is, if you can define it, you can defend it. And so he keeps everybody kind of on their toes as to what it actually is. It doesn't look like a pro-style offense, and it doesn't look like a run-and-shoot offense. And I believe that they're trying to keep it well-balanced because they do have a couple of really good running backs in Deidre Parson and Najee Bryant-Lele, and they're trying to get those guys more involved. It's just been tough because some of the miscues, and Hawaii will shoot themselves in the foot with a penalty and then or an interception. But I do believe that they want to establish the run and then open it up with some of the guys they have on the outside. And a few of those that you named, Jonah Panoke, who had over 100 yards receiving in game one, wasn't used quite as much in this last one. And part of that is just because Hawaii's quarterbacks were throwing it to the wrong guys.
Watching last night's game, I thought part of the problem was that offensive line. I mean, God bless them. I know they're brand new, but they really struggled, didn't they?
Here's the thing, and yes, a couple of those guys are brand new. They are a senior group. They are a senior heavy group, and coming into this season, these are the guys that they're most confident about. I think that it was, and while I do believe that these are pretty solid players, they just had a really bad night, and Western Kentucky did a number on them. They were able to come up through the middle. They were able to disguise a couple of their blitzes, and Hawaii players found themselves in penalty trouble, whether it be holding or personal foul, getting frustrated with things, and it turned out to be a not so good night for a group of guys that originally was the most solid coming into the season.
Well, when you look at the first 2 weeks too, the turnovers just really jump out at you. Absolute killers, as we all know. 3 of those returned for touchdowns. So there is really a lot to clean up on that offense, isn't there?
And here's another thing about the turnovers. You talk about a couple in game one from the starting running back, Deidre Parson. And the 2 that you're referring to from him that were returned for touchdowns were lightning in a bottle. It was like lightning striking the same place twice. How often do you see a running back running the football decently, but getting hit perfectly on the ball with a helmet, and that popping up and going into a defender's hands and it being run back for a scoop and score? You don't see that very often, and it did happen again last night. One of the interceptions was a simple tip from a falling backwards receiver, and it went off his hand, but it was timed perfectly. It seemed by Western Kentucky's defensive back Upton Stout, who grabbed it and was able to keep both feet in bounds with a tippy toe type drill right at the last second and hauled it in. It's just Hawaii is just falling on really bad luck when it comes to some of these turnovers. Really, really bad. Now, some of them have been Hawaii's fault, but others are just stuff that you don't see in an entire season, and it's happening to them already in 2 games.
Well, after 2 games, and it's still early in the season, but they're 2 lopsided losses. They were both at home. I guess it's easy to see negatives, but from your vantage point, John, have you seen some positives that Coach Chang can build on with this team?
Absolutely. I mean, I know I might sound a little negative. I am also a former Hawaii football player, and this is my only football team that I cheer for. And so it has been frustrating for me to watch, and it's been disappointing. But yes, there are a lot of positives. Again, I like what I see out of some of the defensive linemen. There are some very good linebackers on this football team, and there are some promising receivers. Again, a lot of those positions that I just talked about are young, and so they'll have time to grow. And as the coaching staff grows along with them, that will mean everybody's getting a little bit better. I myself, as a broadcaster, in my very first 2 games as a play-by-play announcer, also has things to work on. So we're all kind of growing together. It's just a frustrating start, and I believe that a lot of people had the notion that maybe Tommy Chang would be the answer from the very beginning, and that's just not the case. And that's not, what June Jones did for the Hawaii football program back in 1999 after going 0-12 and then him coming back. His first game was a big loss to USC, but then he turned the program around, and it was one of the biggest turnarounds in college football history at that time, with a 9-4 record and going to a bowl game, and that just doesn't happen very often. And I think a lot of Hawaii fans were hoping for that, it just didn't come.
Well, as we talked about earlier, and we know Hawaii travels to Michigan this week, that long flight over from Honolulu. A road trip like that's tough on athletes, young athletes, even though they've played 2 games. But playing a night game makes it even harder, I would think, to perform at a high level, doesn't it, John?
Yeah, but again, though, I think the time difference will help Hawaii to a certain degree. When I was a player, we used to fly out on a Friday morning and get to wherever we were going, late Friday night, sometimes even early Saturday morning. And then you try to get some rest and then get up to play a football game. I tend to look at it. I'm a glass half full kind of guy. I tend to look at this more of an unbelievable opportunity. And yes, while Hawaii is 0-2 and have lost quite large, by a big deficit here in the first 2 games, this is a great opportunity for some of these players to be able to show on a national stage against a very top class opponent what they can do. And so that's the way I would be looking at it, is if I was one of these players this year headed to Michigan. I know myself never got a chance to play at a place like Michigan. I played in Iowa. It's just not the same. And so these players need to look at it as an opportunity. And if they're thinking of anything negative, then they've got the wrong mindset. They're not thinking about the long plane ride, even though it's over an 8,000 mile trip for these guys. They're not thinking about the night game or the lights or how hot it'll be. If it were me, I'd be thinking, man, I get to show my skills on a national stage at one of the most storied places in college football history against the Wolverines. That, to me, is a humongous opportunity, and that would be the only thing I would be thinking about, and I'm hoping that they are too.
Well, final question before we let you get away, John. What would you like to see this young Hawaii team accomplish against Michigan that could help them better once they get into conference play?
Well, it's going to be tough because we just spent a few minutes here talking about how many mistakes this team has made over the course of the first 2 games. And so what I would like to see the most is to button those things up, is to clean up some of the penalties, limit the mistakes, and hold on to the football. I think if you do that, if you can win the turnover battle for the first time this season, then you give yourself an opportunity to do all the things I just talked about. Giving an opportunity to showcase your talents on a national stage like this. And if you can do it mistake-free, you'll only come out that much better. I'm hoping Hawaii has learned from the first 2 games and can showcase to a Michigan team and to its fans what Hawaii football is all about, because I believe it's about hard-nosed football. It's about brotherly love. It's about unity and camaraderie, and it's about a good product that they're trying to showcase on a national stage, because Hawaii does have some good football players. You can look across the NFL, across the college landscape even, and you can see all the fantastic talent that has come from Hawaii that is playing across the nation. And Hawaii has that. And so to showcase it and to do it mistake-free might turn things around a little bit. And I'm hoping that that's the case this week against Michigan. And if not, then I'm hoping they learn something from their game against Michigan and come home and defend their home turf against Duquesne with a better perspective.
Well, here with us on our Visitors Edition today has been Hawaii radio play-by-play voice John Veneri. John, it's been a pleasure having you with us, sharing some of your background, and we look forward to hopefully our paths crossing again in the future.
I'm sure it will. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I really appreciate it. Good luck, just not so much this Saturday.
On Quick Hits today, once again, only one injury reported by Jim at his Monday presser. Tackle Carson Barnhart sprained an ankle and will miss this Saturday's game. Other than that, just the usual bumps and bruises for first game, a game in which 84 Michigan players saw action. Jim said at the presser he'd like to get at least 100 or more into a game, so maybe, just maybe, that will happen this Saturday night. Thanks again to my guest today, Hawaii radio play-by-play voice, John Veneri. Great guy. Thursday, our guest on the Michigan Game Day Show will be the angel of the big house, beat writer Angelique Shengelis from the Detroit News. So tell your Michigan friends and family about the show and join us on Thursday. That will do it for now. I'm your host, Mike Fitzpatrick. Thanks for joining me, and have a great Wolverine week, everyone. Until we meet again, take care, and as always, go Blue. Thanks for joining us today on The Michigan Man, here on Wolverine Sports Radio, a member of the V-Sporto Network, and in partnership with SB Nation's Maize and Brew. Our listener lines are open 24/7 for your calls at 313-263-4842. That's 313-263-4842. Or email us at themichiganmanpodcast@yahoo.com. That's themichiganmanpodcast@yahoo.com. The Michigan Man Podcast is produced at the studios of Robin Lynn Productions, Allen Park, Michigan, and is not affiliated with the University of Michigan. Go Blue!